Okay, so this season thing, I'm gonna address this now because everyone's dumb. No, let me not say that. Not everyone's dumb, but I think people are like very emotional when it comes to things in this game, and like I get it. People really love this game, and they want to play this game for a long time. But some stuff that I'm seeing is just like not right. And I also think that there's a lot of arguing in bad faith. There's a lot of people that are attacking parts of arguments that they know are not meant in certain ways just to make themselves seem like they have some type of intellectual footing in a conversation, when in reality, all that anyone ever wants when we're talking about this in the first place is for the game to be better. So I think almost everyone can agree that the game can get better, right? And it always can. And fighting games can always get better. Fighting games are not super well-designed games in the first place. And so there's a lot of things that could happen to make the game better. The problem is that people trick themselves into thinking that like there's a perfect season, right? People think that having this conversation about what's the best season. Oh, I think season 1's the best. So I think season 3's the best. I think current patch is the right. Doesn't do anything. The reason is because there'll never be a perfect season. There'll never ever be a perfect season. Ever. It's not possible. And so like most people will be able to agree that the best thing for this game is to take strong ideas from each of the prevalent seasons and kind of create like some type of intermediate between all of them, right? And so there are good parts of everything. There are good parts of all the seasons. Season 1 has great offense. Season 2, very consistent, right? Extremely consistent. Season 3 brought more characters into viability, right? It opened up the door for more team building due to more assists and whatnot. And then season 4 buffed some of the it brought special tag in. It also buffed some of the bottom tiers to actually be playable. And so like the problem is that like people have different perspectives and they have different priorities when it comes to fighting games. So let me tell you my standpoint first, and then we'll talk about how that interacts with people that have other viewpoints, right? Me personally, when it comes to fighting games and games that I'm involved with competitively, I don't give a fuck about character diversity, right? And I understand that I might be a very, very small minority in that. When it comes to a game that I'm playing competitively, I don't care if I watch the same character over and over and over again. I don't care, personally. Because to me, the beauty of the game, beauty of a competitive game, in any competitive game that holds up any amount of time, consistency is a big part of that, right? Huge consistency. I came from Melee, right? It's been playing it for over 20 years, and you better believe you're gonna see a lot of Fox, see a lot of Falco, Marth, Jigglypuff, top tiers, right? But I don't care that I see the same characters over and over again. I don't care. What I care more about is about the gameplay. How is the game being played? Are metas being advanced? Are things changing, right? Are things being played in a sensible way? And for Melee, it's very true that it is. That game is constantly changing, and it's crazy the development that game goes through. This game, right? We've gotten to a point where in current patch, diversity is a thing, yes, and I think because it's a Dragon Ball game, people equate diversity with good, right? They just think the more characters I see, the better the game is. I don't think that's true, personally. I really don't. I don't care about diversity for the sake of diversity. Also, segmented diversity is also a thing. You might see a bunch of shit in your net play matches, but do we really give a fuck about that? No, we really don't. We really care about what is being played at the top level of the game. What is being represented at the pinnacle of the game, right? And so there might be a ton of diversity whenever you're playing casuals, but then whenever you get into a competitive format, you better believe you'll start seeing the same characters a lot again. Now, in fairness, if you're trying to compare, because I've seen this, people are trying to compare Season 4 diversity to Season 2 diversity, it's not even close, right? Yes, people pick the top tiers in Season 4, but there's just more options in the game that there was in Season 2, right? We can just get that off the table. That's not what I'm trying to argue here. What I am trying to say is that to some people, it doesn't matter how many characters that you can pick, right? It doesn't matter. I don't mind seeing, like, if there were only 6 people, if there were only 6 characters played or 7 characters played, I still wouldn't give a fuck, because what I get out of competitive games is watching the players play. I like seeing interactions between players, and these interactions are going to happen regardless of what character they're playing. And so I don't care about that, but a lot of people do. And so, like, I think that many people need to understand that a lot of people do care about that, right? That being said, I don't think it's that important to the overall competitive, like, existence. I don't think that really matters all that much, because at the end of the day, top level play will always see a significantly lessened diversity than just general play. That will always be the case, like, pretty much no matter what. Pretty much no matter what game you play, you'll always see less variety at the top than you will in general play. And so, like, I've just kind of accepted that. Like, I don't really care about that. If people want to pick top tiers, that's fine. If they want to pick weird shit, that's fine. What really matters is, are you good? Or are you not good? If you're not good and you're playing, if you're not good, then we're never gonna see you. If you are good and you're picking some weird shit, we're gonna see you. We're gonna see it, right? And so, like, just let it happen. Okay. This season has problems. It has. It does have problems. I don't like that. Pretty much the number one reason that people argue for this season is character diversity. I have not seen anyone argue about the way the game is played, right? They're not arguing for this season based on mechanics. They're not arguing about it. They're not arguing about anything aside from diversity, right? When I ask people what's so good about the current season, the only thing that I hear is diversity. That's the only argument that I've been brought up, which is a fair argument, right? But I think there's so much more there to consider. There's so much more to consider when we're talking about the game that I think it is silly to just accept that there are more characters played, therefore the season must be better. I don't think that's the case, right? That's a big problem. That's a really big issue that I think that's a pitfall that a lot of people are falling into. I really hate seeing it. Season has problems, right? It rewards some really nonsense things. I've talked about this from the beginning, by the way. You can go check my VODs. You can go check my VODs from whenever this season dropped. Within, like, the first few weeks, I was telling people about how this meta was gonna go and why I didn't particularly like it. People called me crazy. They called me a madman. But it is what it is. I'm not here to, like, get revenge on people. What I am trying to say is that obviously the way the game is played does not appeal to everyone. Not everyone likes the way the game is played, right? Not everyone likes full screen buttons that nuke your character, that you can just press with no recovery. Not everyone likes that shit, right? Some people do. Some people don't like assists that do literally everything for you at once, and there being multiple of those that are relevant in the meta, right? Not everyone likes that shit. Some people do, but not everyone. And so I think that those people that don't, their opinion should be valued just as highly as people that do like the season. There's always a bias against those people that go against kind of the general consensus and accepted general consensus of the community, right? They're always scrutinized. They're always insulted. They're always, you know, not, their opinions are always, like, thrown out without being considered. And I think that's complete bullshit, right? If we're gonna have an actual discussion about how to make the game great, then you need to consider everyone's perspective. And I think that's just not being done. And that's why I think a lot of the discourse that's happening right now is complete nonsense, like 100% nonsense. Okay, so what's bad about this season? Risk reward is way out of whack, like both in game and on the character select screen, right? Before, whenever there were less characters and the character power level was lower, right? And you would think that the character power level being lower would be a bad thing. Well, the problem is that you run into this point of no return, right? When you buff characters, right? And I want you all to understand that this is why devs don't always do patches that just buff characters, right? People say it, they want characters to be buffed, they want characters to be buffed, we want no nerfs, right? Well, the problem is that devs are gonna buff themselves into a corner, so to speak. There's a point of no return that you reach where the power level is just so insane that a lot of the things that happen in the actual game get thrown out of whack. And so, like, now with the power level of so many characters being so high, with the way that we play the game now, there are things that just rock that are just silly, right? They're just silly. You had less options back then, and so that naturally balances the game, right? Balances in a way. It pushes it more towards balance, rather, more so than just straight up balancing the game. Okay, so what does that look like? This season, you can pick a lot of shit. Can I tell you what you mean by silly? So when I say silly, I'm talking about things where the risk reward are extremely misconstrued. So like, for example, in season 2, you could pick some shit, right? You could pick some shit that was really strong, but pretty much every character you had, sans GT, right? Minus GT, every character that you picked had a trade-off in some way, right? In some way, there was a trade-off, whether that was their assist was weaker, had less general utility, maybe they had, you know, stubby buttons, and so you had to play around that. Maybe they had less mix, maybe, right? So it's clear trade-offs to characters whenever you pick them back then. Kid Buu, right? Super strong, but you had to only play A assist, right? Which means you're down 1 neutral assist in a game where everyone mixed because of Snap. And so, like, obviously, you pick the character, which is very strong, but you sacrifice something, right? This game, as it is now, it doesn't feel like that's there. It doesn't feel like any of the characters that are being played sacrifice anything. And that matters in a large way. And that's why, that's only a result because they buff everything. They didn't nerf anything, they just buff things, right? And so now we're at the point where there are multiple characters that there's seemingly no trade-off for. And those are the characters that you will see most often in meta. There are some exceptions. Blue Gogeta has trade-offs. The problem with his trade-offs though is that they're covered almost entirely by the assists that have no trade-off. So like Blue Gogeta, if you look at the character, he's not perfect. He has problems for sure, but you see him a lot. Why do you see him a lot? Because all of Gogeta's flaws are covered by relevant characters that don't have trade-offs. Gogeta is covered by 17A. Gogeta is covered by Vegito, right? It's covered by Broly. That it doesn't need that, you don't need to sacrifice anything anymore to put this character on your team, because as long as you pick 2 other strong characters behind him that don't have trade-offs, then his weakness is effectively nullified, right? And that's kind of how team building and meta is going in season 4, and that's why I think it feels so bad for a lot of people. It feels like the game almost feels, and they're gonna hate me for saying this, the game almost feels solved, right? The game feels that way because there's no drawbacks to picking any of this shit ever. You look me in the eye and tell me what's my drawback for picking Vegito. You can't. You like would not be able to. And that would be the case for most top tiers. Vegito, Broly, 21, right? No trade-offs for any of them at all. Like none, like 0. Like you cannot think of a good one. You couldn't. And in even some of the high tiers, like they only have like one very, very edge case flaw that doesn't come up very often, right? Like people talk about base Vegeta. What's his flaw? Sometimes his buttons are stubbies. Okay, well, like this game has 80 million gap closers. You can also pick assists that just do everything for you anyway. And so like, does that really matter that much? Not really. Like, yeah, he's a little bit more difficult than the average character, but like, what do you really sacrifice? You're just not, right? He just kind of has everything. And they buffed his assist, so he really just kind of has everything. And this is what I mean. Like, I think it's very uninspired. I think the way the game is this season is very uninspired. But I think I understand, right? You would be foolish to not understand why they've made the changes that they have. They clearly made the changes that they did to appeal to people that just want to see more characters, right? Because a ton of people in this community only care about how many characters do I see. They tunnel vision on that and not on, is the game that I'm playing good? Those two things are not correlated, right? You can have an amazing game with very reduced viability. You can also have a shit game that has a ton of viability, right? and it's not one-to-one. I think that's, it's like, it makes me sick. It makes me sick whenever I see people think that these two things are the same. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Now season 2, right? Because I'm not approaching this in a biased way, right? I told you guys where I'm coming from, what I care about. Now let's talk about this season 2 shit. Season 2 is like kind of like the opposite of the season, right? Where viability was reduced for sure. There weren't that many characters that were like relevant at top level. However, what it did have was consistency, right? It had consistency, and a lot of people equate consistency with boring. They automatically think that, oh, I have to see this character a lot, and so I think it's boring. I also don't think that's the case. I think if you really like a game, then you would be able to you would realize that the player is what makes it interesting. It's not the character that they're playing, it's the player, right? Especially at top level, because you're expecting people to pick extremely strong characters to begin with. And so, like, while I agree that the meta was centralized, absolutely, the character viability is not the problem, right? It's not the issue there. The problem are the mechanics, right? The mechanic level will always be more important than what exists at a character level. 100%, I promise you. Because the mechanics enable characters to do what they're able to do. That's what's more important, right? Does it make sense? What was the problem in season 2? Was it characters? Not really. The problem was the mechanics. Snap locked you out for way too long. Okay? Universal fuzzy probably shouldn't have existed. Those two things, without those two things, right? People do not look nearly as negatively on season 2 as they do currently, right? And so that's what's important, I think, more so than the characters themselves. Because every single patch, there's some character that breaks the game. Every patch, there's a character that breaks the game. Season 1, Gotenks was literally broken. Like, actually broken. Could not function against the character. The only reason that people did not pick it is because people didn't know. In season 1, we didn't know how to play the game. Experimentation, because the new game, they just wanted to see what was good. They just wanted to pick some shit, right? But if we would have found out that Gotenks was doing what he ended up doing at the end of season 1, the game would have died. Because so many people care about seeing the same character that they would have absolutely dropped this game. They would have been like, damn, I really don't want to play Gotenks. And so that's why whenever the game got patched into season 2, a lot of people dropped Gotenks even though he was still really strong, right? Because they fooled themselves into thinking, I have to pick this thing or else I can't win. When in reality, most people that are thinking that way, you're not winning anyway. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Most people that are going in these forums and saying, bro, I really hated this season, you had to pick this to win, you're not winning even with that shit. I'm sorry. The people that are saying, I hated season 2 because you had to pick GT, you were picked. Even if you picked GT, you weren't winning. The problem was with you as a player. It's not the character. People like want to offload so much responsibility onto the character when it's their shortcomings as a player that is actually preventing them from seeing more of the game for what it actually is. And so season 1, right? Gotenks completely broken. Kid Buu was broken that patch too. 21 was also broken, but for a different reason. He had fucking infinites. The game was just not functioning. It was a problem, right? Season 2, GT, obviously, absolutely broken. Universal fuzzy, broken, right? Season 3, UI. People seem to have forgotten that season 3 had pre-patched UI, completely game breaking, ridiculous. We saw like super reduced diversity. Everyone was picking UI. Everyone was picking that shit. Because why would you not, right? It doesn't make sense. Game breaking. This patch, the big 3, 21, D Broly, Vegito, break the game. Insane. No trade-offs at all. They don't have bad assists. They don't have bad neutral. They don't have bad damage. They don't have bad buttons. They don't have bad anything. They do everything. Everything. All 3 of those characters do everything. Everything possible. So every patch, there's always something, right? And that is what I mean when I say that there'll never be a season that is perfect, ever. There'll always be some broken shit. There'll always be some broken shit. And so the conversation should not be, take me back to this season. Like, I get it. It's a really low-hanging fruit, easy way for people to talk about the game, because they don't want to take the time to actually think about how do we actually make this game better, right? We did this thing a few months back where we were creating the perfect season. And what we did is we took ideas from all the different seasons and we put them together. And we were saying, what does a quote unquote perfect season look like? Right? By taking mechanics from a bunch of, and that I think is the way that people need to think about the game, not this we should just go back to this season, or well, you're an idiot if you don't think this season is about. Like, I hate seeing shit like that, bro. It's so mind-numbing the way that people have conversations about the game. Unbelievable, actually, because the game will never be balanced. It will never be balanced. There's too many factors. There's too many characters. There's too many assists. There's too many centralizing mechanics. There will always be characters that just are better significantly than others. All we can try to do is get as close as we possibly can. But this is the perfect season. That doesn't exist. It just won't. Even if we took all the ideas that we think are best from all the seasons, we don't end up with a perfect season. We just end up with something that we believe is truly closer than we're at now, and that's what matters. There's a lot of bias, and there's a lot of bad faith going on. It's crazy. It is insane. It is insane. Discourse definitely always whips up when they're close to potential announcements. That definitely happens. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised it's happening, right? I think it's natural that this is gonna happen, especially in this community. Dragonball has like the youngest, most opinionated community I've ever seen. Like, honestly, amongst fighting games at least. Minus Smash. I think Smash and Dragonball are like really like Ultimate and Dragonball have very, very similar community dynamics. It's like, just shut up. Because anytime that someone that actually wants to talk about the game and how to make it better, they get fucking booed off stage because they don't just accept the dick that is Bandai Namco and accept that, oh, there's more characters, so it gotta be better, bro. I can pick some weird shit and so it's better. Like, no, doesn't, like, cool, man. Like, what's stopping you from picking that shit in any other like, you really could pick whatever you want in any season, but you're gonna come to a crossroads. What do you care about? Do you care about winning and being a competitor, or do you care about being a spectator? And I think a lot of people want to be somewhere in between, and that's where they get fucked up. You got to make a decision. You just do. Because like I said, there are games with like probably like what? Like very small percentages of their cast, like 25% cast viability. Like between 20 and 30 cast viability that are still very good games and very fun to watch even still. So I don't know. I don't know where this conversation comes from. I think it's complete nonsense. But like this season, if you want to make this season better, like you have to, like, first of all, this idea that you can exist in a video game, you want a video game where no one ever gets nerfed, you're automatically gonna have a game that is a problem, right? That you're like, I really cannot stress that enough. Anytime that you're talking about going in one direction only, right? And this would apply if there were only nerfs too. You're gonna hit a wall at some point, right? Where power creep. Let me put it this way. This is the easiest way to explain. Every time that characters get stronger, it takes more drastic changes in order to see actual change, if that makes sense. Because there are diminishing returns when you buff characters, right? When you buff characters, there's diminishing returns. And so the power level of the game is so high right now that in order for them to see actual change, now the changes have to be more drastic than they were in the past in order for us to actually see significant change that shifts the meta, if that makes sense. And that is why you can't go in one direction. You can't just only buff characters and expect the game to be good, right? You just can't. You just can't. Not from a competitor standpoint. Spectators are lit. They just get to see a bunch of weird shit and people fuck around. But like if offline was like a thing and there was actually like a formalized world tour, I do believe that this patch would have gotten to the same exact point that every other patch of this game has gotten before. And that is that there are like between like 8 and 10 characters that you're just gonna see repeatedly. You're just gonna see them. You're just gonna see them. Spectator neurons are activated at the very slightest idea of like the game being chaotic and faster. They like the sensation. Oh my god. Oof. I feel like I'm giving a sermon right now. Okay, so like they feel like, right? They like experiencing things that they can't understand, if that makes sense. So like the chaos excites them because they can't comprehend what's happening in the game, and so they trick themselves into thinking that this is good and this is really cool. I really like this. This is really good, right? They see people flail around and they just pick shit where there's no logic, there's no reason behind it. They're just pressing shit, right? And they're like, wow, that's fucking sick, bro. Like, my eyes can't keep up with. They really think they're an anime character. They think they're a side character in Dragonball, and they think that the competitors are moving at a speed that they can't see. I can't see. They're moving so fast. That's what they think. That's what they think, and that's what they trick themselves into thinking they're is good. And I have a huge amount of disdain for that. Like, I don't fuck with that at all. As someone that analyzes the game and has done so much to help people improve in this game, right? It's ugly. The game right now is ugly, bro. There are some beautiful parts of it, but it's ugly right now. It's really, really ugly. And make no mistake, there's been ugly parts of every patch. Trust. There has been ugly parts of every single patch. But because the power level is so much higher in this one, it happens more often. And you, as someone that plays this game or watches this game, could probably recall that when you watch a set in current patch, right, you will notice that more often than other seasons, things just kind of happen, right? Someone just presses some shit and something happens. Just happens, right? Those segments of elongated neutral where both players are you know, choosing options and trying to respond to their opponent's options, and they're going back and forth. No one's really getting a neutral opening and shit. That happens way less. It still happens. It still happens, but it doesn't happen nearly as often because people are willing to just ship it with Vegito 5M, and whatever happens, happens. Oh, I hit you? Guess you die. Oh, I got hit for it? Guess I die. Hoo-hoo. Really fun, right? No, it's not. It's not. At least not for me. It might be for you, but it's not for me. And there are a lot of people that feel the same way that I do. Thank you for the raid, Mamba. I appreciate you, bro. Make sure you guys hit that raid command. And so, like, you need to accept that at any point in this game's life, no matter how the game is played, there are going to be people that are looking at it from a different perspective than you. And it doesn't mean that their opinion is less valid or illegitimate. It just means that there's a lot of different people that that like this game and want to play this game, and you must consider their perspectives when we're talking about it. Ain't no way you think just skipping a key part in every fighting game is fun, but like, it's not every fighting game. There are fighting games. So the problem is that fighting games are pretty bad in general, and so like there are games that neutral is not a big deal in at all. Right? There are games that are just pretty much rushdown. There are. There's a game where defense is like not a priority at all, and offense rules. Guilty Gear Strive, guys. Can you look me in the eye and say that Guilty Gear Strive is a game where like defense is that prevalent? It's really not, right? You have options. You have FD, you have IB, right? And you have character and vulnerabilities, but like, bro, that game rewards offense a lot. A lot. It rewards offense. It actively punishes you for defending. And so like there are always parts of prevalent fighting games that are on the back burner. There's no game that like prioritizes all three major aspects to the same level: offense, defense, and neutral. I don't think that game exists. There'll always be one that is higher than the other. Always. And the more that people accept that, I think the better off that they will be. But like really, like people just need to stop being dumb. they need to understand that the game is just like, I don't know. You might like it. How many of you in chat fuck with this season like heavy? Like it's your favorite season? I'm actually curious. We do have a new emote, by the way. Yeah, make sure you guys check that shit out. I'm very curious. Like, how many of you love this season? It's your favorite. I really think it's like, I think if I were to ask this to a room full of casuals, it would be it would be like most of them. I honestly, like, if I were to ask this question to casuals, I think overwhelming majority of them would say that this is the best season. The only season you played. Oh yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Could be better. Yeah, okay. Second favorite season. Season 3 was better. See, it's fucked up because I can't ask this question in chats like mine because you guys are students. You guys have been listening to me spout intellectual discourse about this game for a long ass time. And so in some way, I think I've had an impact. However, understand that casuals, they love this season. They love it. It's a patch for casuals. It is. It is. It straight up is a patch for casuals. Why do I say that? Think about what they did. All they did was make neutral easier, right? They made neutral easier. They made characters do more damage. That's pretty much it. That's that's all they really did. That, like, yeah, they did special tag, so they gave people some more like combo routes, but like that's still like not that big. Like it's not. Season 3 GTU was so good for you? What do you mean, like the characters? It'd be like that. I feel like this season, in terms of mechanics, is great. It just requires balanced characters. I don't think, like I said, I don't think that there's ever there's never been a season that has been sound mechanically. I don't think. Well, sound in terms of like, man, all the mechanics are super great, and so we can just not focus on that. I think it's always been a mechanical issue with this game. They definitely smacked the shit in the bag of the bag of head. The only problem you have with this season, give fuck neutral moves more recovery. Okay, but like, oh, okay, let me segue off of that. Okay, so Kabir brings up a point. The only problem I have with this season is give fuck neutral moves more recovery. Okay, so you're saying that that's the only problem, and so to a lot of people, they would see that statement and they would say, okay, he only has one problem, so it must not be that bad, right? It must be a pretty good season. But what matters, right? Think about this, is the impact of that problem. Huge, right? Absolutely huge. It's not a small thing for there to be fuck neutral buttons with no recovery. That is the game, right? To me, that's the entire game. The neutral game of Dragon Ball FighterZ is contingent on these moves. And so while it may only be one problem, that problem is massive. It's a huge issue. And so like, it's not a matter of the quantity of issues that you have. It's, do these issues impact the way the game is played in a meaningful way. And I think it really does. It really, really does in a negative way. And that is why, to a lot of people, this season feels really bad right now. That's why. Thoughts on Spark Empty Vanish being punishable if the Spark is blocked? Spark Empty Vanish being punishable? No, just make Spark -5, bro. We've already had... So Spark Empty Vanish has been balanced before. When Spark was -5, Spark Empty Vanish was balanced, because if you safe jump the Spark and it was -5, then they don't get to Empty Vanish in the first place. Why make the Spark Empty Vanish? Isaac's not the only one that said this. I've been saying this since fucking season 2, man. I've been saying this shit. This is crazy. 90% of the cast do need the Yamcha EX for English treatment. Too many things at once. Too many things. Okay, listen. If you want to have fuck neutral things in the game, first of all, you need to make it cost something. Contrary to popular belief, half a bar is not costing something. It's not. It's not. I'm sorry. It's not. If you think that something is balanced because it costs half a bar, it's not balanced. It's really not. Half a bar is nothing in this game. It's nothing. When have you ever been like, damn, man, I want to press this EX Lariat that goes full screen and goes through projectiles, but I'm just not going to because I really want to save the half a bar. Never. 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 You're just gonna press that shit because you always have the meter. You always have the meter. You get, look at my meter, guys. Look at this. You see, I get, you know, Dragon Ball Fighter's a lot of this, right? Right? I get meter for this. For doing nothing. Look at this. Wow, half a bar. So now I'm gonna press my full screen move. Wow, dude, sick neutral get, right? It's nonsense. It's not, you have to make it cost something. If you're gonna have skip neutral, if you're gonna remove a very fundamental aspect of the fighting game, which is the neutral game, it needs to cost something. So that's also a problem, right? Making EX moves half a bar was something that seemed good at first, right? In season 3, when EX moves were half a bar, it seemed like, okay, this was cool, right? But then they also buffed all of the EX moves so that there's like almost no drawbacks of pressing them. And so now everyone's just pressing the EX move at all times, because why would you not for half a bar? It's nonsense, right? And then even when you don't want to press the EX, my button goes this far. For what reason? Why? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And so the result of all of these changes all at once have created an environment where, like I said, the biggest problem in the game is risk reward does not exist. Right? Yeah, and that's another thing. When you start a combo with an EX, it used to be if you start a combo with an EX, your trade-off is you don't get any meter for the rest of the combo, right? That's a good trade-off. Guys, that's a good trade-off. That's a really good trade-off. Because now you can press the EX move if you want to, but you're not gaining meter. Meaning that you might miss out on a kill or something because you don't have the meter. Now, it's just press the there's no reason to not press the EX because it will do more damage. It usually goes further. It gives you a better combo. And you don't lose meter build. You lose it for a very short amount of time and you start building meter anyway. So like, why would I not press the EX? Why? Why would I? Why would I ever not press the EX? It doesn't make sense, right? Nonsense. They have removed the concept of there being trade-offs in this game. That's the biggest problem. 100%. Your speculation is that this will make extremely fast games though. Some games are faster, but that's also a problem, right? A huge problem that this game ran into before is that people were like, games take long, and they're right. But the problem, right? Here's the problem. Games still take extremely long, especially as you go higher up on the ladder of strong players, strongest players, right? Games take really long even still, and it's for a different reason, right? Before, when this game was first a thing, right, games took long because things just did less damage. People had less combo routes, supers did less in the game, right? That was why they didn't do that. That's why they went so long. Now the games go so long because at any point in the game, people just default to doing this because they're so afraid of being hit by some random EX move into dying from full screen that they don't want to commit to anything, right? The good players in the game don't want to like just get hit by some random shit and lose a character, lose 80%, that they don't want to interact with their opponent. They really don't. They're like, damn, if I don't have an assist, I'm not interacting with them at all, because Lord knows if Gogeta presses an EX Lariat, I lose 80%. At least. I might just die. Straight up. If I get 5M'd by Vegito, I might just die. And so, like, that's why games still take long. They still take long. And they've tried so many times to, like, artificially make games faster. They tried adding limit break. They tried doing this. They tried doing that. It's just not working. The game's just gonna take long no matter what, I think. There's no change that you can do that just makes games go faster that is also reasonable. It just can't. Just accept that the game takes long, but the pacing of the game itself can still be good, even if games take long. Even if games take really long in real time, and most of that is because the timer is really long, right? It stops for supers, it stops for a lot of things. The timer stops for a lot of shit. But the pacing of games, like especially like season 2, season 3, I think pacing of games was fine. Like when you were playing the game, a lot of the time it didn't feel like it was taking super long. You felt like you were actually interacting with your opponent for most of that time, right? You're like, okay, I'm actually doing something. There are not elongated periods of me doing nothing, right? It's not like that in the season. There's a lot of times where I'm like, I'm literally doing nothing because my character is incomplete and I don't want to get EX Lariated and die. It just be like that. It just be like that. You need to skip animations button? That's funny as shit. I don't think that would work though. But length of game has led to a lot of changes in this game that were negative. Like, I think limit break is complete nonsense. Complete nonsense. Removing it is just, I really think that is a mechanic that I think should not exist. It should have. There are very few mechanics in the game that I feel like you can't fix, right? Most mechanics you can think of a way to implement them into the game in a healthy way, in a way that makes sense. Limit break just should not exist. Not for a game like this. You can't have characters that have EX moves for half a bar, that also still build meter, that are also their highest damage starters, right? And give them a 20% damage boost and a meter for losing. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense. How would you nerf Spark? The only nerf that Spark needs is to be minus on block. It needs to be -5. And it's been -5 in the past. It has. Spark used to be -5. And then they buffed it to be 0. And so that's why the game is the way it is right now. That's why Sparking Scramble is the most impactful part of the game. Easily. By far. Most important part of the game, you getting knocked down and then someone being like this. Whoop. Wow, I guess you take a free 50-50, bro. Nonsense. Complete nonsense. For losing. So you have that, right? You have a free disengage. Like, look, think about this. Think about this fucking mechanic, bro. Look at this. Right? What is this? What exactly is Spark? It's a free disengage. It's invulnerable on startup into the best offense in the game. You get it once per game. And on top of that, you also gain more meter on the combo. You get properties to the character that you don't normally have because you can jump cancel buttons on block, right? You get access to this. Sparking is insane. Absolutely nonsense. And you think that you need another comeback mechanic on top of it? That's what you're telling me? That this isn't strong enough? So we need to also give people a 20% damage boost and a free meter for losing? That's what you're trying to tell me? Nonsense. I think it's the dumbest mechanic ever. Completely stupid. And when you have a comeback mechanic in a game, in a fighting game, it needs to be something that you actually take advantage of. You need to do something in order to get a benefit. Limit break, you don't have to do anything. They just give it to you. They just give it to you. Your character just does more damage. It doesn't make any sense. Think about a MOBA. Because MOBAs have comeback factors built in too. If you kill someone that's higher level than you, you get more gold. The drawback to that, you'll notice there's something real different, right? You have to kill them. You have to kill them in a disadvantaged situation. You have to kill someone that is 5 levels above you. That's hard. That's really hard to do. And so you get more gold for it, right? What do I have to do for limit break? Nothing. My character just does more damage. And some people are going to be like, well, you still have to hit them. But you overestimate how easy it is to hit people. Right? It's really easy to hit people in this game. It's not hard. It's not hard. Think about how much shit you have to hit people. Think about it. Is it really hard for me to press a 6-frame full screen lariat? Is it that hard? This is really hard, guys. It's really hard to hit someone. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is really difficult. I'm working really hard, I promise. I promise you, I'm working really hard. I'm really working hard. Wow, dude. Really hard for me to press this in an unreactable range. Like, it's really hard for me to move to like here and press this shit. And my opponent, if they didn't react in time, wow. Wow, dude, that's tough. Oh, I really worked hard for that. I really worked hard for that hit. Oh, God. I'm so annoyed. They buff level 3 spark, like what? Yeah, they buff limit break. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. I think I really hate the way risk reward is in the game right now. I just hate it. That's me though. And you should not be listening to me and thinking, yeah, you know what? That guy hates it, so I hate it too. You're your own people. You can have your own opinions. I'm simply telling you about what I have an issue with in the game. All right? You don't have to think like me. I've already accepted that I think about this game differently than most people. But like, holy shit, man. It's so annoying. So annoying. What are my thoughts on power creep? I already spoke on that. I was talking about how eventually if you keep buffing shit, you reach a point of no return where you have to then make such drastic changes for it to make a difference that the game becomes unplayable. It's if y'all want to keep asking for strictly buffs and for nothing to ever take hits, we're gonna get to that point in this game. Viz was tier 1. Thank you, bro. As a spectator, you think this is the most boring season to watch. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Do you guys think that how fun do you guys think this season is to watch? What do you guys think? How much do you enjoy watching Dragon Ball right now? Honestly. I feel like I said, if I were to ask casuals, because casuals are primarily spectators, I think most of them would say that they really enjoy watching the season. I don't watch this game very much this season at all. I only watch the top level, essentially. When it's not the top 8 characters, it's fun to watch. That's a casual thing. That's fine. Sometimes you enjoy it. Haven't watched it much this season. Def more fun to watch the season 1 or 2. Okay. You enjoyed watching season 2 the most? Okay. I think this game is the scrubbiest to watch. Tournament top 8s and be like, wow. When G2 was so common, you enjoyed watching. Even though G2 was so common, you enjoyed watching season 2. I think I have enjoyed watching all the seasons of this game until this one, I think, honestly. Because I'm actually looking at what is happening in the game and I'm like, wow, this is fun. You scrambly, watched it while I press 5. Yeah. You enjoy when people don't hog on the same character? Okay, so for you people that are talking about, you know, I enjoy it when these characters aren't playing out. Do you think that diversity is automatically better? Do you think that more character diversity automatically makes the game better? In a game that claims to be the most diverse season, people seem to copy each other a lot. No, there can't be, Kabir. There can't. That's where I'm going with it. That's it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. If you are loading up a fighting game, if you're watching a fighting game tournament, if you're watching a competition, and you don't expect for people to just pick the shit that's strongest, and for you to see that shit a lot, I think you're kidding yourself. And that's not even just that's not even just like video games, right? Any competition, they're gonna use the best techniques, they're gonna use the best methods. You just like games where people can make a character their own and being hella able to be creative, but you can always do that. I think people saying that I have to pick this or I can't be creative, I think they're kidding themselves. I think honestly, like, there'll always be creative liberty in a video game, always. There'll always be room to do that if you want to do that. But the problem is that you feel bad doing that, right? Let me spit real quick. You feel bad doing that, going out of your way to try to innovate and try to make yourself feel unique, bringing something new to the table, when it feels like everyone around you is doing the same thing. That's why it feels bad to you, because you feel like you're not rewarded for doing that. It feels like right now you're rewarded for just doing what everyone else is doing, and you are. But you can still make that choice and pick different shit if you want to. I'm a fucking Frieza player. Despite all the nonsense in this game, I'm still picking this character, and I'm still creating new shit on the character. But I'd be kidding myself if I have to work really hard on this character, guys. Honestly, I have to work really hard on this character, and that's okay. I'm okay with working hard on the character. Like, that is totally fine. You have to accept that though. Like, you have to. Yeah, if you're not gonna pick the meta shit that is prevalent, you're gonna have to work really hard, and I think that's the part that makes people feel really bad. But I still think you can do it though. I still think you can do it. It's just annoying as shit. It just is what it is. Let's look at Nitro Hook Predator. Wait, for what? Oh, there's diversity and there are more names. There may be a variety of characters, yeah, but the way the game is played just isn't varied at all. That is the issue. Absolutely. That's 100% the issue. It is his. It's not, and that's why I say it's not the characters. The characters have a small part of it, but in essence, right? The problem is the way they balance the game and the mechanics that enable you to play this way. If they didn't buff these full screen M and H buttons, to have no recovery and go full screen and start up in 8 or 9 frames, then people don't get away with doing these things. They get punished for it, and it gets pushed out of viability. People just don't do it. But instead, it's quite good. And so at every level, if you see a Vegito, there's gonna be, it doesn't matter if it's some random blue square online or if it's fucking Yasha, at some point, they're just gonna press 5M. They're gonna, I promise you. They're gonna be doing nothing and just be like, all right, it's time to 5M, right? And because why would you not? It's just nonsense. They're gonna just do some shit and mash 17 assists. Like, yeah, it's ugly. It's ugly, but it's the way the game is. Your least favorite thing about this is that 90% of the people have 21 and 99% of them don't do the mix correctly. War never changes. It'd be like that. It'd be like that. So like, and once again, right? I'm not trying to get my hopes up. I'm not expecting anything. Battle Hour, personally. In fact, in the back of my mind, I'm expecting the game to get worse. And that's because, one, I'm a cynical asshole. And two, I have no reason to believe that the game will get better. I have no reason to believe that there will even be significant changes in the first place. I think that there will be bug fixes and pretty much nothing else. So, but if they were to say, oh, we're gonna do a patch, the game, I feel like will get worse again. At least for the way that I want to play the game. Keep that in mind. The way that I want to play the game. It might get better for you, because I know a lot of you, this is your favorite season. I get it. But for me, in the way that I want to play fighting games, in the way that I want to exist in this game, it's pretty ugly. Give us a spark for each character, I will fucking bang you. No, base Q's fine. Base Q is a fair top tier. Totally. This dude out here changing his color and shit. What the fuck is going on? Can't help. Yeah, no, listen. Like, design philosophy for fighting games has been continually moving towards giving the everyday player more of a chance to win. It's always been like that. It's always been like that. They want less of an obvious skill gap, because casuals feel really bad when they load into a game playing their favorite character or expecting to play their favorite character and they never get to play them. They're like, damn, I really want to play Vegeta this game, and they never get to play, and that makes them feel really bad. And so they go on Twitter and they start bitching, and they go on Reddit and they start bitching, and they get the game changed, and the game has severe impacts on us as people who understand the competitive nature of the game and are looking to make the game better in some way. The casuals are gonna watch no matter what, because it's fucking Dragon Ball. So, like, it just is what it is. The wrong type of variety this season. There's a bunch of different characters being played, but everyone plays the same way. Yeah, no, would you rather have... I think Dragon Ball players need to ask themselves, do you care more about diversity in characters, or do you care more about diversity in playstyles? I care way more about the latter, and that's why I thought Season 2 was fine for me. Because even though there were a lot of different people playing similar shit, whole lot of GT, whole lot of SSJ Goku, whole lot of Kid Buu, Adult Gohan, right, Bardock, all those characters, seen a lot, but I still felt like when two people were playing the exact same team, right? This is the best example, right? When two people were playing the exact same characters, I could tell which one it was. I could tell who was playing. If someone pulled up with Goichi's team and was not Goichi, I could be like, that's not Goichi. Definitely not. That's not the way he plays. It's just not. Right? It's like that in it's like style identity, right? And Street Fighter 4 is really known for this. When two players of the same exact character or same exact team pull up and you watch them play without knowing the names, you can pick out which top player that is, right? Infiltration's Akuma was different than everyone else's Akuma. Was different from Takedo's Akuma, different from, right? GamerBee's Adon, the only one like it. Only one like it. I Jury, only one like it. Right? That to me is beautiful. I love that. It's my favorite thing in a fighting game. When the game has enough expression to where players can kind of control their own destiny. I want to play this way, so I'm going to be the guy who epitomizes that playstyle. I don't feel like that exists right now in Dragon Ball. And I think it's the biggest problem with the game for me at the moment. Aside from GT, Fuzzy, and Snap, Season 2 was the best when it came to neutral and playstyles. Neutral was thick in Season 2. People really undermined that shit too. And I see why, because people really didn't like GT. And they really didn't like Snap. But neutral in Season 2 was fucking sick. I loved playing neutral in Season 2. People thought way harder about it. People thought way harder about it because you knew what the fuck was gonna happen if you didn't. I'm not trying to take this shit. Characters personally, I mean, yeah, no, there'll always be people that think differently than I do, for sure. I think some people will always care more about characters. Absolutely. But I think attacking it from a character standpoint just doesn't solve the problem. I really don't think it solves the problem. It's like a very small bandage on a big wound. Like, for a short period, people are gonna feel like, yeah, this is new and inventive. But eventually, as time goes on, people are gonna feel the same way. They're gonna feel the same way about the game as they've always felt, right? When this new patch dropped, everyone was like, holy shit, this is so new. You can pick so many things. It's so much fun, this and that, right? And look where we're at now. Right before battle hour, people are starting to think, man, I really hate seeing people play Yasha's team. I'm really sick of seeing fusions. I'm really sick of seeing this. And it ends up being the same shit because you attack the wrong thing. Expression causes characters to have more than their archetype should allow. Should allow? Whoa. What does that mean? More than their archetype should allow? So you would rather have a cast full of characters that have hard set archetypes with no flexibility at all than there being a cast of characters that have wiggle room and flexibility and allows people to express themselves on the character? I think that's silly. Why would you ever want there to be less stylistic viability? If then it really just becomes a true counterput game. It just becomes, oh, you pick this, I'm picking this. Is that fun? Do you think that's fun? Honestly, guys, do you think that's fun? That's how you get Deadshots in Dr. Fate? I don't think Deadshot was overly oppressive because there was stylistic freedom. In fact, I think it's the opposite. He was extremely strong at one particular thing that just happened to be good against most characters. But there wasn't a whole lot of stylistic freedom when it came to Deadshot. They were all doing the same shit. It didn't take much effort. Damn, the Skyrim music though? He was mix your shit when you finally get in, but what's the point of mixing when I finally get in if I never have to go in the first place? You know? So I think what you're saying is that you're talking about the pitfall of overtuning characters. I think is what you're trying to get at, is that leaving the door open for stylistic freedom naturally leaves the door open for characters to become overtuned. And while that is true, what we're failing to understand about Dragon Ball FighterZ is that characters are already overtuned. Like that problem that you're afraid of becoming a problem is already a problem. Characters are already overtuned in the game right now without having stylistic freedom. And so like it leads to a very one-dimensional flow of gameplay, right? So like while that is fair, the worst case scenario is already happening. It's in my opinion the worst case when we're talking about style, right? And expression, it's already happening. We're already in the worst case scenario, essentially. Well, the worst we've ever seen. It can always get worse, guys. Trust me. When it comes to fighting games, it can always get worse. I'm not saying that this is the worst possible that we'll ever see or anything like that, but I think as far as the game has gone, it's the worst it's been. I think from the style standpoint, character diversity probably the best it's ever been, right? And that is why they're not the same. They're not the same. These are independent things. It's gonna get worse with the battle hour announcement. I mean, like I said, I don't expect them to change much, honestly. I expect them to fix like Blue Gogeta bug and shit like that, right? But I don't expect them to be big changes. But I will say, ooh, y'all really tuned into the stream to hear some fucking facts today. I fuck with that. Now listen, this is what's gonna happen. We're gonna load up battle hour. They're gonna show us Lab Coat 21. There will be a short honeymoon phase with Lab Coat. He's gonna feel like a breath of fresh air for a lot of people. Man, this character's sick. Really like playing it. Guarantee you, give it time. The same conversation that we're having, we're gonna have it again. And except next time, it will be worse. It will be worse next time. Because does anyone remember what happened when GT came out? Remember when GT came out and they said no more patches for X amount of time? You remember how the community opinion just devolved into a cesspool? That was the problem, right? That's another big problem with Season 2 that people are not bringing up, is the devs really fucked that game, right? It wasn't really the players or the characters or anything. The devs dropping a character that has severe meta impact and then saying, you're not getting a patch for 6 months plus, right? That will never go well, ever. Ever, right? Mentality was garbage, right? Because it felt like there was no end in sight. There was no end in sight at all. It was, we're stuck with this forever, essentially. I think GT came out on Goku Day. Back then, we didn't get a patch until like February or March, I think. Right? Think about how long that is. I think that aspect as well contributes to why people frown upon that season so much as well. And that is something that's no one's fault. It's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's the devs' fault. They fucked up. They fucked up big time with that shit. And so I'm afraid that after battle hour, that shit can happen again. Where if there's not significant changes, which I'm not expecting there to be, we're just gonna be in limbo. We're being in limbo where people are going through the motions because they don't know if anything's gonna happen. Doesn't seem like things are gonna get better anytime soon. I just don't know. I just don't know. I feel like we're in risk of reaching that same bad mentality that we did back in Season 2. And that's really what hurts a game more than anything. Characters in gameplay don't always be there. People will always play the game. There'll always be people that enjoy the game. But what really hurts a game and its community is stuff like that. That overall community mentality that this game sucks and it's not getting better anytime soon, right? And that is what made Season 2 feel like such a slog. Disagree. Go ahead. Speak up. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Because I'm not. Because I'm not. I promise you. I've seen what happens in this game. It just be like that. So yeah, I'm really worried. I'm really worried. Now, there'll be people that will always be trying to make it better. That's me. I'm always trying to do something to make it new, make it exciting. That's why I do the war events. That's why, you know, do tournaments with alternative formats. That's why I do this and that, because if the devs are not going to bring us the variety that we crave, or the change that we crave, we got to create it ourselves. We have to take ownership. We have to do something. Have to. Otherwise, we're just going to be playing the same game for the next 5 years, bro. Like, and that shit's boring. that shit is it's boring if the game is the way it is now. If you drop the game and there's tons of room for the ceiling to be raised, and there's plenty of expression and whatnot, then a game can survive forever. Like I said, melee exists, guys. There's precedent for the things that I'm saying. People still play VSAV. They still play Third Strike, right? They still play these games. Even years after the fact. So it's not impossible. But I think people have definitely come to, you know, use patches as crutches and whatnot. So it's painful. It's painful. Personally, you wouldn't dislike the state of DBFZ if they didn't give characters stupid neutral skips that encourage matching and does not enforce good fighting game mechanics. I mean, like, you're making that sound like a small thing, but it's not, right? It just is how the game is built. Like, it's like, has anyone ever seen someone get EX lariated by Gogeta 4 and been like, wow, bro, he really worked hard for that? And as you watch their health bar just deplete, like a fucking life points counter in Yu-Gi-Oh. You probably haven't, because low commitment, high reward, don't have to think very much about it. Twitter gonna tell you can backdash it. Oh yeah, no, they say things like that. They're like, yeah, no,
all that shit talk. You over here sending me DMs like, hope your Gogeta is ready for me. Bitch,
it'd be like that.
Worry about yourself, bro. Make sure you get a good job at Best Buy.
Listen, just because there's counterplay to something doesn't mean it's good for the game. That's the pill that a lot of people don't want to swallow. A mechanic being good or bad for a game, or something being good or bad for the game, is not contingent on is there counterplay or is there not. What they're saying, right? What they're trying to counter argue against is something being game breaking. Something game breaking is something that has very, very limited counterplay. Very little wiggle room around it. But just because something has counterplay doesn't mean it's good for the game. It just doesn't. I could sit up here and tell you, yeah, dude, just do this against 21, bro. You can win. That doesn't change anything. It doesn't change shit, bro. Why not just make the game better? Why are people standing up for the devs here? Just make the game better. Why? And the reason, the answer is that they have their own personal biases. If you're someone that really fucks with character diversity and shit like that, you probably really like this season or the last season, because you get to see some more shit that you weren't used to seeing. And so, like, you go on Twitter and you're like, nah, dude, like, you're crazy if you think that this is not the best season. What the fuck are you talking about? I could pick fucking Nappa and fucking Jiren and Ginyu if I want to. Like, yeah, bro. And like, yeah, you can do that. But does it make the game good? No. I'm gonna answer for you. No, it doesn't. Doesn't at all. The sooner people separate those things, the better off I think we'll be. Talk about character that has been meta since season 3. You can see trend all those characters have met. The game got better. Better in what way? I would disagree on certain aspects. it got better in some ways, and I think it got worse in others. No. That's the problem. It's not a one-to-one thing. It's not did the game strictly get better or game strictly got worse. It got better in some ways and worse in others, right? And then it is up to us as players to determine how much does that mean to me, right? How much do I care about, you know, this aspect that was better, or this aspect that's worse. So some people, you know, they feel like the game got worse in a way that really impacts their gameplay, and I think that's fair. And I also think for some people, like Brian, I know you care about character diversity and whatnot, right? I think the game got a lot better for you, for, you know, combo, special tag, right? That matters a lot for you know, combo routes and creating, you know, being creative in the game and creating new inventive teams and synergies and whatnot. You care about that shit, and so I think the game got better in that aspect, but I think in some ways it got worse. Yeah. No, special tag is really good. I think that's a mechanic that if I could take it and put it into previous patches, I would. Absolutely. Fun top tiers is more important than diversity because it's a two-player game and your opponent will always pick top tier. I need that, you know, the give of the guy that's like, No. That's not. Wait, who's arguing that? No one was saying that. He just said he thinks that having fun top tiers is more important than diversity. What I could agree with that sentiment in some ways. I'm not here arguing for season 2, Brian. I don't. That's not. I've already dispelled that argument when I went live. I was like, I'm not here to argue about which season is the best, because I think all the seasons have big flaws and all of them have big benefits, and so you need something in between in order to make the game like truly great. And so like I don't think season 2 is perfect by any means. I don't think season 3 is perfect. I don't think this patch is perfect either. There's some ugly shit in this game that has been in the game since release. This is the game can get better and worse, of course. Vegeta not a fun top tier. Well, fun is absolutely subjective, right? But here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Remember that thing I said about character expression? Now I got your ass. Because what makes characters fun for a wider range of people is that that ability to be expressive. You appeal to more people being able to play the character and express themselves if the character has more to them and is able to play multiple playstyles. Then it's more fun for more people. And then people complain way less about seeing the same character. Right? It all falls into what I just said. Like straight up. You think this and season 3 are best just because at least more characters on the screen? But don't you think, Brian, I'm a level with you, bro. Don't you think that's so sad that we have to think that way? Honestly, like, don't you think it's so sad that we even have to like think like that? It's so sad. It's so sad that we have to think like, damn, this game still sucks, but at least I see more characters. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. Like the devs are fucking us, man. They've been fucking us from the jump. They've been fucking us from the jump, bro. And then you fuckers go off and you buy Dokkan cards and shit, and they're making bank anyways. They don't want to even make the game better. Like, fuck, man. I actually don't even know if Dokkan is the card game. Wait, no, Dokkan's the gacha game, right? What's the card game called? I don't remember. Oh, my bad. Oh, it's a gacha card game. Okay. I was half right. Good. You need Japanese Games Foundation and American Communication and Balancing. I mean, oh yeah, Japanese Game Foundation except for netcode. But yeah, I agree, but that's so, it's like, it feels like every single game that comes out that appeals to us in any type of way, the versus game format, it's like we have to fight this never-ending battle against these horrible mentalities, man. It's just so, it's such an awkward community developer relationship. It's so awkward, bro. It's so fucking awkward. Am I still doing analysis today? What time is it? You know what? I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do analysis tomorrow. So I have, because I have my queue's pretty long, so I want to give it adequate time. You have a good nap, bro. Someone told you today they only see 4 characters right now, like period. Yeah. No, I don't know how long you've been here, but I was talking about how people are arguing in bad faith. Like just straight up, just making bad faith arguments on both ends. Like, honestly, like there's more than 2 sides. There are a lot of different sides that are like kind of weird, but like you can't argue that like it's not. In terms of character diversity, this season has the most. It just straight up does. If we're talking about general character diversity, it just does, right? And so like it's bad faith to argue that it doesn't. But then there's also some bad faith shit talking about other seasons too. So it's just like, make it stop, please. This is why I don't be on Twitter. I don't be on Twitter like that anymore, Brian. I post about my events and shit, and I get the fuck off of there. All right. I can't, bro. It's so ugly. The interests of $1 billion game company are usually not allowed. Of course not. You think they also tried to say he was talking from a casual standpoint? Well, okay. So the problem is that like a lot of things that they've changed about the game have been geared towards the casual community, and their opinions matter too, because they make up way more of the game than we do. To be honest, I'm just be 100% honest. The casual player base is way bigger than us, the competitive fan base. Like it just is, and so of course they're gonna make changes that cater towards them. That's natural. I think there's no way to get around that. That being said, I wish they would take more time to consider the competitive implications of their changes, because there is a middle ground. There are changes that you can make that have, you know, competitive impact, that make the game more sound from a competitive standpoint and make it more fun for competitors, and also make it more fun to watch for casuals, because that's what they're there for. Like they just want to watch. They want to watch people play Dragon Ball, right? And so you have to find a middle ground. If you shift too far towards one side, then the game falls apart. Either if you 100% gear towards casuals, the game is just not competitive. It just fucking sucks. If you're too much geared towards competitive and not the casuals, then no one watches. No one buys your DLC. Smash Ultimate has character diversity and isn't fucking boring to watch. Now listen, I'm not a huge fan of Ultimate, but part of me, I think that the teetering balance between competitive and casuals is just handled much better there. No, it can be boring to watch. I think every fighting game can be boring to watch at times. It really depends on what you're looking for out of your fighting game, as well as, you know, there's meta shit to consider. Is the person that's playing just playing non-interactive, right? Like Ken, if any of you guys know about Ken, the Sonic player, he'd fucking run away from you. Kamui Kiri too. I don't know if people remember Kamui Kiri from Smash 4, but he would literally just run from you. When he played Cloud and he played Sonic, and he would just run from you and just back air you 100 times a match. Top player. One of the greatest to ever touch the game, right? And a lot of people would find his play boring, but some people would feel like the game is beautiful for letting him even play like that, right? Let the game allowing him to express himself in the game like that is a beautiful thing, regardless of whether you think it's boring or exciting. That's what I care about. Give the players the leeway to play the way that they want to. Don't punish them outright for wanting to play a certain style. That nigga would back air the shit out of you, bro. That dude would really back air me. That shit is mad funny, bro. Project L will set standards, but assuming it'll be the greatest thing to great style. Oh, of course not. Fighting games always have issues. I mean, every competitive game always has issues, right? The difference with fighting games and some other competitive formats is that one, like, we get patches way less, right? There's less quality control. And so, like, when a fighting game gets patched, we're usually stuck playing the game for however long, regardless of whether it's super good or super bad, right? Whereas, like, devs of more popular games that are mostly free to play and PC based, they push updates and changes much more often, because if they see some shit that has 80% win rate, they're like, okay, we're gonna hotfix this real quick, because obviously this is a problem in games. That doesn't happen in fighting games. That doesn't happen in fighting games. If that happens and Soul Bad Guy has 90% win rate, you're holding that for 4 months. You're holding that for 4 months. You're paying money to play this version of the game for 4 months, right? That dynamic's completely different. That's why we're like stuck. We get stuck, bro. And that's, like I said, number one problem with S2, in my opinion. The biggest problem is that they told us no patches for 8 months, 9 months, no changes. We know that GT is broken. We know that mechanics need tweaked, but you're holding that. You're holding that until World Tour Finals. You want a way to smoke your entire community? That's the easiest way. You crush hope at that point too. Hope matters too. Like, some of you are on mad hopium right now, right? You're like, battle hours coming up. You're holding on to that sliver of hope that this game gets rolled back, or there's a balance change, or there's a new season of characters. You're holding on to that hopium because it hasn't been deconfirmed yet, right? You're like, damn, I don't know, and because I don't know, I can have that hope until it gets crushed in 2 days, right? Right? S2, it wasn't like that. They crushed that shit immediately. They said, no patch, hold that shit. Hold that shit. That, when you crush people's hopes like that, people will never come out of a patch thinking positively on it whenever you do that, regardless of how good the patch is. Because things will get stale to people, regardless of how good it's perceived to be, and people will, it's different. When you're talking about games that are patched, mentality is just drastically different than a game that is not patched, right? This is what it is. Nigga said rollback. I mean, people, listen, let me tell you guys a story. Last year, we watched the Battle Hour, which, by the way, I'm really glad that Battle Hour this year is over 2 days instead of all 1 day. Really? But this face that I have on my webcam right here, you know what that face is from? That face is from people hoping that there would be rollback. You know, right before Battle Hour, people were like, yeah, dude, they're about to announce rollback. It's about to be lit, right? When the Battle Hour ended and they said no, I looked at them like this, because why would you do that to yourself? Why would you do that to yourself? Now, I get it. People need something to believe in. They need something to give them hope. I get it. I get it. But man, putting all your eggs into one basket like that is gonna lead, the fall afterwards is gonna be unlike anything you've ever experienced. And that's why I keep my expectations low. If they do some shit, I'm cool. Or maybe it won't be cool. I don't fucking know. But at least, you know, whatever happens, my expectations are not so high that I fucking crash whenever that shit doesn't meet it. So that's the way I look at it. And Smirk is too much. It's a pretty good one.